Hey everybody, this is Steve, and today I want to talk about a topic that affects a lot of people, and that's overthinking and worrying, because it's one of the most common ways that we ruin our own day, that we ruin our own peace, that we ruin our own energy and our creativity. And the interesting thing is it's never the nice things that we overthink about, it's never the holidays, it's always the things that we're concerned might go wrong. Well, in this video I'm going to be sharing what my friend Michael would call the kink in people's think about overthinking. And I'm going to share some ideas with you that I share with my coaching clients on this subject. And stay with me because it's going to come to a self-care practice that you can take away and apply in your own life. So if you're ready to attend to that overthinking habit, then click the like button. And also, if you're interested in this kind of content, please hit the subscribe button and remember to hit the bell after it so that you get notified when new content arrives. Now, overthinking is something that I think we've all experienced, something that we've all perhaps struggled with at times. I know I have. I've been through times where I've been able to overthink like a champion. But everything that I'm going to share with you today is things that my coach has shared with me and practices that I applied to bring some balance to my own thinking. Now, to begin with, why do we do it and why is it even a problem? Well, let me speak metaphorically here. We all have what you might call a mental simulator, a place to try on and evaluate ideas. And if you think about it, that's a useful thing to have because it's how we can play things through in the mind and make decisions and plan, like choosing where to go on holiday, deciding what to do and what not to do, prototyping ideas, and playing through what-if scenarios. The thing is, though, the mental simulator isn't just something we use with conscious, deliberate thoughts, with thoughts that we chose. It's also busy with unconscious and semi-conscious thinking too. What I mean by that is it's like there's a part of the mind which is operating in the background with autonomy to run by itself while we're busy doing other things, running simulations in the background. And that's a good thing too, because it means we don't have to consciously remember what we need to think about. I mean, imagine how tiring it would be to have to consciously remember what would happen if I put my hand in the fire in order to remember to not do it. The problem is, though, when what's getting fed into the mental simulator is what I would call suspicious thinking. What if I fail at this? What if people laugh at me? What if I embarrass myself? What do people think of me? Why don't more of my friends call on me? What if I'm not really good enough? And you see, whatever questions you put before the mind, you're going to create answers to, even if you have to confabulate those answers. Now, that's a word that means filling in the gaps of our knowledge and understanding with fabrication. It's what neurolinguistic programmers might call distortion and generalization. Now, here's how it works. Let's say that the suspicious thinking question that comes up is, what if my friends don't really like me? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be some searching for experiences that test as positive matches for that proposition. And they're going to get thrown into the mental simulator with some fabrication to fill in the gaps. And you're going to experience how your friends might not like you, which in turn is going to raise follow-up thoughts, which in turn fetches more memories, which in turn induces more fabrication, which throws more stuff in the simulator, and you can very quickly go down a rabbit hole. Now, the thing is, there's a bias in this process called the positive test strategy, or what some people might just call the positive test bias. And that is that when you are evaluating an idea, like, I wonder if my friends don't like me, then what happens is there's a process that will go through and fetch a bunch of experience and throw them into the simulator, which are testing positive against that proposition. Now, what it doesn't do is it doesn't go and get half a dozen experiences that test positive against my friends sometimes don't like me, and then go and fetch another half dozen experiences that test negative against that test against my friends do like me, and then let them wrestle it out and have some balance. The positive test strategy basically means it just goes and gets those experiences that are going to test positive against my friends might not like me. And that means that there's automatically a kink in that thing. There's automatically a bias that's going to manifesting what some people phrase as a motto that goes, "What the thinker thinks, the prover proves." So we have all this mental simulation going on with a positive test strategy that makes your suspicious ideas probably seem plausible to you. And the thing is that feeling follows thinking. If I'm mentally simulating how my friends might not like me, I don't just think that. I feel it, I experience it. Perhaps still in a way that you can tell the difference between it being a simulated experience and a real experience, but you're still going to get some of that feeling and some of that experience. So what's the remedy? Well, the obvious answer seems to be to police what you think, to stand guard over what your thoughts are. But that's really not useful. For one thing, you just can't do that all the time. And it's actually good for us that we have these runners in the mind pulling up and fetching ideas and throwing them into the simulator so that we can think ahead. It's only a problem when we start going down that rabbit hole of suspicious thinking. And there are a few things we can do. If we're mindful enough to catch ourselves doing it, to catch ourselves going down a negative thinking rabbit hole, we can remember to also test some of the other ideas, some of the positive opposites of the negative ideas that we've been thinking. In other words, if I find myself ruminating on the thought that maybe my friends don't like me, then I can also ruminate on the thought, and maybe they do. What if I fail at my exams can be followed by, and what if I pass? What if everybody hates my presentation tomorrow? And what if they love it? Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't about looking in a mirror and telling yourself positive affirmations. What this is simply doing is it's mitigating for that positive test strategy by, when you catch yourself ruminating on the negative thought, actually making a deliberate effort to also think through the positive opposite of that, so that that's where the balance can come in, rather than rabbit holing down what is only one idea, one negative idea. Another tactic is to simply remind ourselves that what we're responding to is a thought, and to remind ourselves of the process that we're going through, to remember what's actually happening when we ruminate. This idea of positive test strategy and the idea of throwing things into the simulator, which are going to make the thing we're suspicious about seem real. And when we do remember that, when we remember the process, when we disassociate and see it as a process that's happening, to see that we're catastrophizing sometimes, to see that we're going through a process of what the thinker thinks, the prover proves, then this has a grounding effect. This actually allows us to look at what's going on and be less involved with it. And one other tactic or technique which I sometimes share with my coaching clients, which I will share here because it actually brings some humor to the whole process, is based on the idea that a lot of our suspicious thinking is verbal. Not all of it, and it may be different from person to person. Some people it might be more verbal, some people it might be less verbal. But nevertheless, it is quite a common factor that a lot of our suspicious thinking is verbal. And this tactic is to change the qualities of that internal voice that you're discussing it with yourself with. You know, that voice that says, what if I fail tomorrow? What if this all goes wrong? What if that happens? What if the roof caves in? And this technique is to take that voice, which you're probably hearing in a serious and maybe stern voice tone, and replay it in Donald Duck's voice, or in Bugs Bunny's voice, or in Elmer Fudd's voice. Because it's difficult to get the negative feeling from it when it has that kind of qualities. And that's one of the amazing things about our mind, is that we have that capacity. We have that ability to replay that inner voice with a different voice tone, to hear it in somebody else's voice. And it does take a lot of the negative feeling out of it. So there we have it. Overthinking, suspicious thinking, catastrophizing. We all do it. It's something that unfortunately seems to be part of our human nature. And the reason is because we ask ourselves suspicious questions like, what if I fail? What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if the roof caves in? And when we pose these kinds of scenarios to the mind, because of things like positive test strategy, and because of feeling following thought, we can go down these rabbit holes of experiencing everything that could go wrong like it's real. In other words, we have a perfect system for overthinking. But we also have some strategies and tactics to counter that. Like, let's recap them. Like when we catch ourselves ruminating on a negative thought, spend some time with its opposite. So, for example, again, what if I fail tomorrow? What if I succeed? What if it goes badly? What if it goes well? Like taking a step back and seeing what's going on, seeing that we're just responding to thoughts going through mental simulations, seeing the positive test strategy, seeing how we're going down a rabbit hole, and playing with the qualities of that internal voice that we do this ruminating with. Something else that can be useful, and it may be the most useful thing of all, is to simply relax into a meditative state. A state where we're neither forcing thought nor preventing thought. Just relaxing, just letting the mind settle down. Some people use a metaphor here of a snow globe. You know, one of those things you would get around Christmas time where you shake it and the snow starts going around the scene. Well, here's the thing. You can't shake a snow globe clear. All you can do is put it down and let it settle by itself. And this is what a meditative state is like. This is what relaxing into a meditative state can do. Now, I get it that at first it might be difficult to settle into a meditative state when we're worrying. And that's where perhaps some of those other techniques might just take the edge off. But by relaxing, by going into that meditative state, you'll be surprised how quickly the mind can settle all by itself and for new, clear thought to come up. Now, if overthinking is something that you'd like some support with, I would love to hear from you. And if this topic was of interest to you, please do hit that like button if you haven't already. If you have friends who might benefit from this, then please share it with them. But most of all, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell that comes afterwards so that you get notified when new content arrives.